We thought we'd start today with a chance to reintroduce ourselves and to give us sort of a round robin and just talk about what is on our minds today or in general when it comes to our work with our military families. So I'd like to start with Karen, just because you're right next to me in the
Sitting right next to you from Vermont to North Carolina. I work with ECAC. I'm Karen Lachlan. I got to be really honest. Military families are hard to have on my mind this time of year because we're being, the phone is so high with all the families. It's just almost like people have kind of thought, oh my gosh, it's almost spring break and my this and this and this and that is not going well. So it's a very busy phone time for us. When we slow down from that is a little bit better time to kind of be proactive, and I'll be able to go back over the notes from these meetings and in a planning mode. But right this time of year for us, just focus as much as we are on special education. It's hard to be proactive. We seem to be pretty reactive right now, but for good reasons. But
yeah,
I always, when it's time, these meetings have been invaluable, and I will be looking back over everything and doing some planning based on the things we've all talked about together.
Cool. Well, and I know, Karen, you know, it's not like you you do a lot of work with military families, and I'm sure you'll be having ideas float to the top of your head when things are a little less frantic, huh?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We want to be really well organized and have a really good, solid plan for the upcoming year.
I see somebody new has joined us on the call. Irene, would you like to introduce yourself and say what center you're from and what's on your mind about military family support?
Irene Martinez from California, Fiesta Educativa.
Hi. And does your center do a lot of work with military families?
Not directly at this time, but we are serving an area now where there are a couple of military bases. So, you know, we want to learn more about what would be, you know, what is the best way to do that.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. So what installations or what counties are you working with now?
Well, it's in the Inland Empire, the Barstow area of California.
Oh, yeah.
The specific name of the bases, I don't know, but we will know soon.
Yeah, well, we can definitely talk about that. That's awesome. Well, welcome to our little group. We're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go next to Roz Bethman. Roz?
Hello, group. So I work with PAVE's Parent Training and Information Center. I'm located in Spokane, Washington, and happy to report that we've been invited to Fairchild Air Force Base in May for their open house, the EFMP open house. So, and happy to be part of this crew.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. So nice to hear. And next, Elizabeth Allen.
Hi, Elizabeth Allen from Family Connection of South Carolina. Let's see. So we've done a couple things with Fort Jackson, which is an Army base right up the street from where our office is located. We have been invited to participate in something with EFMP at Shaw Air Force Base, which is in Sumter, South Carolina. And so our next goal is to hit the bases along the coast and try to see if we can get them to do some workshops. Haven't gotten any response yet, but still hopeful.
Can happen. Jen Cole.
Hi there, everyone. I am Jen. I'm the director of South Washington. And I think right now I'm feeling really psyched and encouraged. Just had a training at our Eagle installation, and that will be a series of workshops for families. Not long before that, I was partnering with the Specialized Training of Military Parents program and did a training at Joint Base Lewis McChord. So I think I'm really, I guess I say psyched because it seems like once you get a connection, that just unravels a lot of other connections. And so I see that momentum building. I'm really excited.
That's really great. I'd just like to take this moment to ask people if they can mute themselves if they're not actually speaking. If you go onto the bottom of your screen and look for the little icon that looks like a microphone and click on it, you can do that because we're getting all the usual feedback. So thank you very much. All right then, Laura Weber.
Hi, this is Laura Weber. I'm representing Region B RPTAC, and usually my colleague Terry Layton is on this call, but she is chaperoning her daughter's field trip for a couple of days. And so I'm very pleased to be able to fill in. I'm also I'm the co-director of Region B RPTAC and the director of ECAC in North Carolina.
Great. And Laura, do you have anything on your mind about military families at this point in your day, your week, your year?
How do we get them new housing?
Yeah.
No, I'm just eager to hear what other folks have to say. And see if there are any ways that we could also support this work.
Sweet. Shirley.
Hi. We have a couple of workshops planned at Fort Carson, and one's coming up on April the 20th at the library at Fort Carson on advocacy, and then in September we'll be doing advocacy again. And that's what they wanted, so that's what we're doing. And we're close to Fort Carson. We also have Peterson Air Force Base, the Air Force Academy, Schriever Air Force Base that are just right around here. And Schriever is really growing, and Peterson is really growing. That's the Space Command kind of component of the Air Force is located here. So that we're getting new people a lot. And Barb and I have been enjoying working with family there. So.
And Shirley's with Peak Parent Center.
Peak Parent Center in Colorado Springs. Yeah.
So yep, they're keeping them busy.
Yep.
We have somebody else on the call on the phone, area code starting with 909.
Yes, hello. This is Alejandra Rivera with Exceptional Parents Unlimited, and I'm actually in San Bernardino County.
Hi, Alejandra. It's nice to have you back on the call.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. So can you tell us a little bit about what's on your mind with military families?
Sure. Sure. So I will actually be going to Vandenberg Air Force Base next month, April 16th and 17th. So I just will be reconnecting with families there and want to be, the best support that I can be for them. So I will be doing a training as well as individual IEP clinics for them.
Mm-hmm. That's really great. Boy, people seem to be getting really active and doing a lot of on-base on-base work. That's lovely. I'd like to ask Yasmin Butler, who's director of the STOMP program, and she's on the call by phone. Yasmin?
Hi. Yeah, hi. I just had to unmute myself. So Yasmin Butler, the director of STOMP. I just excited to hear like how everyone's kind of, you know, basically getting involved in military families. That's really good. We have some workshops that are coming up in some of your areas over the next few months. With recently, we have next week just coming up, Andrews Air Force Base, the 28th and 29th. And then someone said they were next to Peterson Air Force Base. We have a training coming up in August there, so that's really good. So just, you know, excited to hear that you guys are making some connections with our military families. That's what we're hoping. That's, you know, that's always the hope, so that's great. And I sent an updated list to Barb of like all the workshops that we have coming up that are in the top 12, that you guys are always, you know, welcome to. If you're close by, you're welcome to come, and we can discuss co-presenting, all that good stuff, so that you guys can, you know, meet the military families there, make connections with the EF&Ps or SLOs there, and really start setting something up after, you know, our instructors leave, and then it can be a continuous effort.
Thanks, Yasmin. It's good to have you on the call. We have a new person on the call, area code starting with 703. Hello?
I'm sorry, that's me, Sarah Small.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Hi, sorry about that. I was on another teleconference earlier and had to get off and yada, yada, yada. So thank you very much for coming. Okay.
So Sarah, we've been going round robin. We've been introducing ourselves and our parent center, and we've been talking about what's been on our minds about military families. Many people have been able to report that they've got upcoming trainings or meetings on installations, and others of us are just kind of swamped with the day-to-day minutia of being in a parent center and all the calls that come in at this time of year. So would you like to share for the rest of the group?
Sure. My name is Sarah Smalls, and my parent center is Formed Families Forward. We're located in Fairfax, Virginia. We're in Northern Virginia, Fairfax City, and we have resources for foster, adoptive, and kinship families whose children have special educational needs. I will be going to the series speaker. I believe it's in Quantico. That's coming up. I think I don't remember the exact date, but we got information about that, and I was very happy to get it so that I could go and, you know, maybe network and make some contact with military families.
That's awesome, Sarah. Would you mind saying the name of the event again? I don't know if it came through clearly to everyone.
It's speaker series. Let me go to the, I'm right here with my computer, so maybe I can go to the next month on my calendar and look to see what's going on.
That's lovely.
I know it's in April. Yep, Quantico, CAPM speaker series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be dealing with neglect and ACEs.
All right.
It's
well,
from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Quantico.
Thanks for sharing that. That's a very unfortunately timely topic.
Yeah.
So last and far from least, Tracy Callow, my colleague out in Washington State.
It is great to have all of you and just the reflection points of it's a high call volume. I think our organization too is experiencing that. It's that time of year, and I just thank you all for all the great work that you're doing with military families. And again, just that reminder that in those last slides we sent out, you can always see when Yasmin is mentioning on the WashingtonPave.org, and then you /specialized training, and we can send that link out again. You can see the new installations that are coming through with training, and then you can see ones that the registration is coming soon. So there's a number kind of in that Region B area for Miss Laura and all of your colleagues, because Region B has a high number of the Army military installations that are paying for this round. But again, all branches of service are welcome. So I don't know, Jen, if like you just went to the JBLM one, so that joint one was here in Washington State, any tips or thoughts to share with anything that we could be more helpful and providing those kinds of things, especially if someone hasn't come through the stomp door. And again, there is funding, so please know that that's a possibility too, just to talk with Yasmin about that. Obviously, all of us are paid by our Department of Education grants. However, to fly or mileage or, you know, accommodations, overnight accommodations. So I don't know if you had any thoughts.
Yeah, I think just, you know, if there's an opportunity for a PTI to attend or partner, it's so worth it. Think about all the families that show up, but also the professionals. So the school liaison officers, the exceptional military family folk come. And so you just very quickly build a web of connections, and then you get to hear from families what are some of the things that are most concerning to them. And particularly if you have knowledge, right, of the district or the lead education agency that's responsible for the education of those students for that installation, you can bring forth so much information that could be helpful for them. So I think that's just my plug for, you know, just taking that opportunity and just seeing when, you know, Stomp is in your area, and if it's even remotely close by, looking to see how you might be able to travel to it.
I'm a little curious if anybody else who is also accustomed to doing training on installations has additionally had a chance to go and do a Stomp training, and if they had any takes on how that may or may not play out differently than going as a PTI on your own to do a training. Just curious.
I've done a couple of Stomp trainings with when they've been here in Colorado, and I also got to go once to the 3-day training up in Tacoma, which was just great, and that was a lot of fun. So I think you're going to meet new families, and you're going to meet families who don't know about you yet because they're new to your state. So it was really important that the PTI be there and participate in the training with the other families and give that local and information about what goes on right in your own state. And it's always really fun to do that.
Thanks, Shirley.
And families are really hungry for your all's knowledge, your local knowledge. That is like quintessential. And then they have so many, as you guys all know, you know, the military families with their movement, they always have somebody that's either coming from Virginia and going to Washington or Colorado or vice versa, or South Carolina or California. So there's a lot of movement happening. So
Yeah.
great. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Share too, because I had the experience of partnering with Stomp, and then also working with Naval Base Kitsap and with their direct team members, so their EFM people. And what I'll say about that experience, because I also have, it's a series of workshops we're going to be doing with them, that I just love them, you know, as people, the people who are really trying to help military families navigate it all the things that they have to work through. And then also they had the experience of having their bosses come and watch part of the workshop, because they were like, you know, seeing, oh, well, you know, who did you arrange for the families? Oh, it's the PTIs here. And they were just so thankful too. They're like, oh my gosh, my boss came and watched it, and you did this and that, the other thing. So that was really cool too.
Yep. Yes, it definitely doesn't hurt to make your bosses happy.
Well, and there's so many of those EFMP. I mean, obviously, Yasmin, you know that too. That's the other part is that, you know, if Yasmin is interfacing and helping to set up, like Peterson, you know, coming in August, for instance, in Colorado, she's going to know that like that EFMP person might be a brand new point of contact and kind of pass that off to all of us working in parent centers, which is really helpful because there is a lot of, you know, changeover in all those roles, the school liaison officer, et cetera. And, you know, those are good things to know before we walk on to that installation and know exactly, you know, what to bring and load up in the car as we're going through the entry points. So I think that's helpful. And I don't know if, Yasmin, you have any pearls of wisdom. I know things are changing on how you market within installations. Any good tips, you know, for all of us doing our own trainings, anything on that point? Because I know you're constantly talking to a lot of points of contact in the military.
I think just really as far as marketing, it's just being visible, like using the social media platforms, using all those things to really market, and it's really getting contact and building that relationship with the EFMP and Flow. That's really how you get the word out. We've had, I've had some where the registration, I mean, we've had 40, 50 people come, and that's purely based on the relationship that you have with the EFMP or Flow, that they'll market your stuff, your workshops and your series to get the parents to attend. Because the biggest thing is getting families to attend. We do 2 full days, so that's hard for anybody to attend. But when we get them there, and if we can get, you know, the PTIs there and start building that relationship. And then if you're doing like these short, you know, a couple hours a day, one day, instead of 2 full days, you're prone to, you're more likely to get families to come. But in order for the EFMP and the Flow to promote it, there has to be some kind of relationship there, or they won't push it out, because they the EFMPs and Flows rely so much on just what's going on the inside. Or around on base instead of more on the outside. So if they have that relationship, it's easy for them to refer. And if families have questions, oh, well, go here. So all I can really say is just it's a relationship thing. Build the relationships, and also know it's a high turnover rate with EFMPs and Flows because, number one, they're more than likely they may be spouses, so they're moving with their spouse or whatever the purpose may be. And at some bases, there's multiple EFMPs on the medical side as well. So it's just really about finding those contacts and making the relationship, starting the relationship, really.
That's really something. Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to people, doesn't it?
And the only other thing I would say to y'all is if you see and you can't come, but you want your military families, you are welcome to ask them to register, and it doesn't matter any branch of service, because each of these installations are usually can accommodate up to 100 people. And I think, they're probably the average is 20, maybe 14 to 27. It all depends. And people can come for any part of it, including yourself. So I just really want to stress that element that if you can't be there for 2 whole full days, and right now, you were talking about it, Karen, it's a really busy time. Maybe it's just a couple of hours, drop off your stuff, come back the next day for a couple of hours, talk to Yasmin and then, folks. And usually it's that afternoon where there are interactive pieces to talk to families. And that's where your local wisdom and knowledge is critical. So there's always, times to just come in if you can't be there for the 2 whole days. And that's what we tell the families too. So again, thank you all for partnering with this. It just is a way that for us as a win-win, you all training families and connecting with them. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Wow.
And even for me, when I schedule the workshops, I talk to the EFMP about, what are some of the most concerning issues or repeating issues, questions that you're getting from your families. I try to get that as much of that information up front so that I can, number one, I want to be able to give it to our instructors. But, if you attend or if you want to come, I can easily share that, these are the type of comments or questions and concerns that this EFMP seems to be getting from all their families, so that you're kind of better, prepared to kind of go in and say, okay, let me, like Tracy said, let me bring these resources, because, you already know these are the kind of similar questions you're going to get. We also encourage families to bring like a copy of their child's IEP. So if you do attend, we would love to have you like sit down and maybe you can get some one-on-one time with the families. Because one of the biggest things is the families just don't know how a SMART IEP looks. It's usually, that's always after every workshop, that seems to be like the biggest thing of feedback that we get is, okay, I didn't realize that, I'm looking at this IEP now, and then after the training, I realized, this should look completely different, or I should be specifically saying this. So those things are always helpful. So.
It's very interesting. Yes, I was actually reading an article this morning that mentioned, it was from the Military Family Learning Network out of the Cooperative Extension, and they were saying that a lot of the research that comes back from military families is just specifically about that. They are not always in a position to have developed a really detailed, effective IEP, maybe because they flipped out of one base before they really had a chance to see how the vague one played out. And then they end up someplace else and even the vague one doesn't fit. So back to square one. So that's interesting. That it's all anecdotal, but it could very well be, a facet of the military family experience. So speaking of those kinds of issues that come up, I was wondering if anyone had some specific concerns to share that military families have brought to you currently or in the past that have turned out to be a little gnarly or a little, something that you would have appreciated maybe some more resources on, or just that you feel you needed to share because maybe we can all put our heads together and see what we know about those kinds of situations. Yeah, Shirley, you're waving your hand. Karen.
Yeah, and I laugh because Barb knows that there's a family here that is just really struggling with the district and military family. And on her own accord, she just went to the top. I mean, to the Pentagon and the FMP top and 4-star generals top. And so she's just, very frustrated, and our state monitor top, so, which is fine. And I gave her that name and number because, well, why not? Let's see what happens. But I think maybe when you're going from state to state, and how do you climb that chain of command? How does a parent who's new in a state, when they don't know, they don't know the parent centers and they don't know kind of the protocol, but it's like, I got to do something, and this is my kid, and I'm going to advocate for this kid all the way to the top if I need to. And so, how do we help families like that navigate different kind of systems? And, states have different criteria for their children to qualify for, the IEP. And Colorado's we're pretty much, the federal law, we're pretty much that rung, and other states have a higher, or they've strengthened their own, special education law. And so, moving, especially little bitty kids, when they qualify for services in one state, but move to another state that says, you don't qualify yet. You're not quite there yet for us. And that's kind of frustrating for parents too. So, but going up that chain of command, and how can we help parents, figure that out? And is it going to be effective or not for them to do that? And how can you use the words and advocate in a really productive way and not adversarial way? And this mom's being very productive with her. She's not being adversarial, and she's being really respectful the whole time. But she's not going to quit. So any suggestions are greatly appreciated.
That's kind of a tough one because on the military side, it's very political as well. So when you move and it's depending on who you talk to, you can step on toes. No matter how it comes out your mouth because of the politicalness of it all. Specifically, since she said she's gone to the general, to the Pentagon. But it really just depends. It really just depends. As far as, that's happened to me where I've gone from one state. I moved from Washington State and my son was on an IAP. I moved to Alabama and he no longer qualified. And he had been on IAP from elementary school all the way to his 9th grade year. And then he gets to 9th grade and he gets reevaluated and he didn't qualify. So I had to turn it over to a 504, but that was even a struggle to even get them to do that. So really just going through the right, as long as you've gone, before going all the way to the Pentagon, you've gone through all the appropriate steps and the processes through the whole chain of command, then that's all you can really tell her to do, and continue to keep advocating for her child. When a family moves from one state to another, that's why I say build relationships with EFMPs, because EFMP has their, when a family moves and they have a child, a special needs child, they have to go through a process of, if I get orders today saying I'm PCSing in 6 months, they have to go through the whole EFMP questionnaire to make sure that whatever that wherever you're going, that state can, or the area of that base can provide the services needed for your child. If they cannot, they won't allow the whole family to move. Sometimes they'll just do, it's just an unaccompanied assignment. But when I say have relationships with the EFMPs, because EFMPs have a full resource list that they're going to resource out. So we always suggest in our trainings to families, before you PCS, call the schools, talk to the EFMP at the location you're going to, get resources, get some information from them that they can push out to you so that you can make your contacts before you move. If you're not on the EFMP's resource list, they're not going to refer you.
Yeah.
So one of the things is build, like I keep saying, the relationship so that you can be one of their first contacts. So if I call, the first thing they're going to say is, oh yeah, contact Shirley over at here. She's great. She'll kind of give you the ins and out of because what we get to is a lot of questions on school districts. So I'm moving to Washington State. What school district works better with my child with special need on special education rights and the needs that are going to meet my child? We know that all school districts aren't created equal. So you're going to get some that are very good and some that aren't. So to have you guys, the PTIs, as a resource, you guys know the local area and kind of what's going on there. And so you can talk to our families about, oh, well, I don't know about that district or that school. Maybe you should look over here. So that all of that is helpful. Just that's why I say relationship. So you can be that next point of contact for the EFMP, and the EFMP can refer their families to you guys.
Yeah, maybe our dream is that every EFMP in the world has us on speed dial or something like that, Yeah, Roz has got her thumbs up there. Alejandra, do you have anything that's been, sort of on your mind? I know you raised some concerns when we were on the last call you were on, and I'm just wondering if you've got something to share with us that military families put on your plate.
No, actually, not anything new has come up. I actually, that grandmother I was working with, she was just having such a hard time. I think she was, last I spoke with her, was gonna try to retain an attorney, and I haven't heard back, so I'm hoping everything went well. But just in previous experiences with collaborating with some trainings, it's been really helpful because similar to what others have expressed, Dom can go and cover, the health insurance info and other stuff, and then we're there to support with local, state law and information that so we can definitely support each other that way. So I have actually found that to be very beneficial.
Alejandro, Karen, yes. Can you,
Hi.
yeah.
So this is a good topic for me right now. I'm on my work plan is to create some form of a tool for military families in North Carolina. So I've been trying to think about, well, what do they really need to know if they're coming here? And taking some notes from some of the things people have mentioned. And I'm thinking about just basic things like, what do you call it? We have this place called the Department of Public Instruction. I know that every state calls that something different. Our term here is always EC, Exceptional Children. I know that that's not always the name. Where's their website? What's on their website? On the topic of why would your child not qualify, we could give families a heads up on, well, you could look at the actual worksheets that the school is going to use to see if you do qualify. Here's where they are, and just giving them this vocabulary that there is such a worksheet maybe is going to be helpful. We have developed this really, I think, unique way to identify children with learning disabilities in our state that is definitely going to cause misunderstandings, conflict, and questions for some families. So as I'm listening, I'm trying to think about how to pull those bits of information out, maybe put it in video, maybe put it, and then build the relationships like you all have been saying with EFMP, letting them know we have this tool, and then keep it on, reminding them that we have it and that they can call us and all that kind of thing. So I don't know if anybody else has thought of specific things like that might be different between the states, because when you live in a state, you're kind of used to it. But if anybody has things about that are different state to state, maybe you could toss it out if this isn't the right call, maybe another time, because I'm guessing that's part of what's really confusing, is how do you even start? What do you even call it? Who's even in charge? We don't have in our public school district something equivalent to going to the Pentagon. And what does that mean? Because most of the kids are not on a base school in our state. So anyway, I'm finding it really helpful just to hear. I'm picking little tidbits from what people are saying for that use. But if you have any other ideas about these state-to-state variations, I would love to hear more about them.
I think that's a great idea. Creating a toolkit for, the families for when they do relocate to a different state. Here's our toolkit of the no's and what to do and how to do and maybe how to go about for families, because a lot of times they are getting into these new installations, are completely lost and confused. Because you're only getting the basic information when you PCS somewhere. So having something like that would be, I think, extremely helpful, specifically when trying to locate and find schools that would work best for their kids. I think that would be extremely helpful. Great idea.
Well, and I was just thinking too, just like even with this conversation, what if we had as top 12 or whatever, a template that is the who, what, when, where, why, or whatever, where we could plug in our state specific information. I mean, that sounds like that could be really cool. I'd love to see more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, be helpful from this end.
Well, we can do that.
That's what I like about these calls. Things are
Yeah, do you see my little wheels turning over here, ladies?
Yeah, so keep adding the things that are essential, because again, even having 4 of those things on the list that you just said, Karen, would be so helpful. And then if we all kind of know where it is and call it the same thing, then families can, look by that same thing. Roz, what do you have on your mind?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I'm sure that each state has their own administrative codes, their WACs, Washington Administrative Code. So that would be something. How do you locate that? How do you locate your state's procedural safeguards? What's the name of your education, the OSPIs of the world, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or what is your state Department of Ed called? One thing that I'm working with a family right now at Fairchild who's moving this summer, and I think a helpful guide is how do you tighten up your IEP so that when you land, it's the best document going forward. You know, are all the boxes checked? Do you have SMART goals written? Is it clear what services, accommodations, modifications your child needs? Those kinds of things. So a really good IEP document is something we always work on when I'm working on at Fairchild, because I know those people are probably going to move.
Good point.
I do know that in Texas, they call their IEPs ARDs, ARDs.
Oh.
So does anybody know what that stands for?
ARD?
No.
No.
Well, we get a lot of Texas folks who move here and they bring their ARD with them. And so, yeah, and I know that it's an IEP, but they have a whole different name. Does any other state in Texas call them IEPs?
No, well, we usually have Texas people, so we can ask them. Yeah, and we can ask our Texas folks that usually come through and are on this. Because again, to your all's point, having the top 12 have a template and having basic information, and then, you know, each state could say, yeah, that's not what it's called here. That's what it is called here. I think that would allow for that. That would be awesome.
That would be lovely.
For admission, review, and dismissal, I don't know what that would have to do. Meeting of a group of people who help to determine whether or not a student is eligible for special education.
You looked it up? That's what it says?
Yeah, I'm looking at I Googled it. And developed the individual education program. So somehow they go hand in hand.
Wow.
Also, I know so when we describe North Carolina, we say it's very much a local control state. So our state people at what we call Department of Public Instruction they don't have a lot of control or power, and neither does a superintendent in a district will take relatively less control and power because they'll put it to the building. And something of, I don't know how you call that, but I think those are probably subtle things that matter when you're talking with parents about how to advocate or why are things, like, for example, if somebody asks me about a school district, I can't answer that because we have so much variability school to school. So how to capture subtleties of where states vary, maybe, you hate to just have an other box, but I don't know if you guys can come up with just like a descriptive sort of thing about how the state tends to run and where the authority really is, things like that. Maybe we could try to capture.
Sort of the secret state organizational culture kind of thing, you know.
Kind of like the culture, you know, where's the decision-making power? Or,
yeah, who's in charge?
Yeah, who's in charge, tips and stuff like that.
Who is really in charge? Well, you know, I mean, we don't have to call it that. We can be a little bit more tactful, but yeah.
Yeah, like secret sauce. Like, here's our secret sauce tips for you. I have no idea, but I hear what you're saying. It's the subtle nuances. And then, you know, a lot of us have, you know, folks that are in elected capacity, so that will make the flavor and the culture shift and change too on that influencing. But I hear what you're saying. Even if we have the core basics and kind of run that through, it seems like on this template, that would be a huge start amongst the top 12 states.
Yeah.
And that would be a huge, you know, navigation tool that we could at least start. But I hear you, those are the subtleties. Are there other things? Because Barb and I are capturing sort of, you know, chain of command, but plus decision makers, plus local contact, plus, you know, a variety of other things to put on the template. Is there anything else coming to people's mind?
Even if it's like really state specific just to your state, like if it's something that you find yourself explaining to people every single time.
And if that comes up, you can modify the template, because everything that we make is going to be open. So you can modify it, and you can say, like, I really need to impart this for California. I need to really impart this for Virginia or North Carolina or Washington, whatever. You know, there are going to be that subtlety.
Yeah. Is the 504 plan always a 504 plan every place? So I have some districts around here that call it an individual accommodations plan, but I haven't heard a ton of that around the state. But what do you guys think from the different states about 504?
Well, I haven't heard anything different from about 504s from state to state. But within the state, I think the districts get to sort of it. We're very local control also, but with 504, there is not just a standard form. We don't have a standard form anyway, and so it looks different from school to school. A lot of times in our state, well, all of the states use that response to intervention, but in our state we call it multi-tier systems of support. And they really discourage a lot of 504s because they say we're doing it in this multi-tier systems of support. So I don't know if other states are encountering that too.
Well, I'm thinking for Washington, we are also very local control. And yes, not every school or district or LEA has to have the same 504 form. However, the message that comes out of our Department of Education is pretty strong around 504 and what that should mean for students. And you know, and we still see the confusion that comes along with schools that are saying that, yes, your student has an IEP, but they also need a 504 plan. That comes up.
One of the things I'm seeing too in Washington is people with medical and or health allergies, those kinds of things. They're calling it a medical 504. So that's creating some confusion as well. It's basically a 504, but some of these kids also have an IEP. So then, like Jen was saying, I'm dittoing that. It's very confusing to parents. Is it a medical plan? Is it a 504? Is it an IEP? Or do I have all three? So we do see confusion around that for sure.
And how do the poor classroom teachers keep them all straight and get everything covered?
Right. And of course, different laws apply. 504 is more ADA compliance and IEPs or IDEA, et cetera. So I think there are different rules and regs at play there. Yeah.
Confusing. Wow. Well, this is quite an amazing list. And we're starting to count down to the end of our hour. And there was something that we wanted to make sure we spoke with you about. So has everybody gotten the bugle with the Month of the Military Child materials in it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And has anybody got any plans for using any of the materials? And I'd just absolutely love to show you all my pictures as we talk about it. I'm going to share my screen. Y'all see all the pretty pictures of all the kids? Hello?
Yes. So I've already forwarded this to our social media person, and I said to her, this week I'm giving you a week's notice because it's not April yet. I know that she will strategize to use these throughout the month.
Well, that's lovely. I just totally wanted to put a plug in. This year we would really like to see it when y'all put it out. If you have something that your team is sharing, we would love to see how it's being used. So just thought I would throw that in there. Is there anybody who is not getting the bugle directly?
Then they can just email you, right?
Right. But
And then you can put your own logos in these images. So you don't, put your own, it's meant to be for your own organization. On your
definitely.
social posts or on your website. And again, you don't have to use these images. It was just a way to make it easy so that we're all celebrating this and that. I think, as we all know, if I can see myself being served by your organization, I'm more inclined to know you're going to be there to help me, which we all know you are, but we also know military families don't know about all of us, just like civilian families. So great.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I always have a lot of fun putting that together. I just thought I'd put out a shameless plug,
So if we come back with the template for next time, does that seem like a place to start and keep working at how we might be able to all do that and, pull it forward, or see if we have the right things on there and then start seeing how it's there, and then maybe even brainstorming where would we put it so that it's very easy, because there's probably a lot of military families coming in and out of the states that are on this call, let alone when Texas is usually here, and also a few other states. So just FYI. Is that something a good place for next time?
Yay.
Okay. Is there anything on
EFMPs to put it on their website so when we do finally get something done?
That's a good idea too. And I think we could network that through Yasmin. How about that, Yasmin?
One more thing to do.
Or through your own contacts, definitely. You can ask your local installation, say, look, we've got this great tool.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the maps work two
That'll work.
ways. Our maps that are there, so you can look at your installation in your state, they do work two ways. When Yasmin and us are talking to a variety of folks inside the Army for the Army contract, we're constantly saying, and you see that star is your local parent training and information center, or your CPRC, or a combo, for your area. So they are getting it both ways, and they know that. And when we give reports, they're hearing the PTIs that are coming forward and helping all these years, and we collapse that and bring that forward. So our point of contact for that contract is within the Navy, but we have oversight within the EFMP for both the Air Force and the Army are on those calls. So they're all hearing about you guys all the time, because that was the whole point of this, is to make it a two-way where we are constantly educating them about the great work that you're doing all the time and how to reach you.
Wow. So are there any burning questions on anyone's mind that you've had time to mull over while we've been on the call and you'd like to raise before we sign off? I know, I love putting people on the spot like that. I'm just awful. And I can't see some of your faces, so speak up if you're on the phone. No? Okay. Tracy, I think we can let these good people go on to the rest of their day. What do you think?
And they can have 7 whole minutes to do something phenomenal, which they already are doing.
Yeah, well, the energy is good, ladies. Thank you so much for attending. I look forward to being in contact with y'all next month. I'll be sending out a list of our next dates and times for the next couple of months, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.